A lot of people think that wicket keepers actually get into a squat position when they're keeping. But actually what happens when we're squatting is the weight is going through our heels. Now that's not ideal because obviously if we're leaning back, we're not particularly dynamic in moving forwards and moving from side to side. Okay, so I think that it's more of a deadlift position. Okay, so we are more upright. We're trying to keep our chest up, see the ball bounce, and then from there I would pick the line and I would look to drag my hands up. It's really important that the hands are nice and low, starting from the floor. I mean, I did used to cross my little fingers here. You don't necessarily have to, but I do feel that it gives you a little bit more stability when the ball goes in. I used to catch the ball nice and deep, literally as late as I could, almost behind my head. But isometric strength basically means you can hold a position for a long period of time without wobbling, without losing that technique. As you can see, I can hold myself in this position and I can stay there all day.
Cricket Last Stories with me, Neel Khagram. Today we're joined by Ben Scott. Ben, how's it going?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Lashing down with rain outside, but we're in here doing some exercises, so it's all good.
So Ben, you're going to give us a wicket-keeping technical masterclass. Former professional keeper yourself. Run us through your career.
Wow, how long have you got? So in a nutshell, I started at Middlesex as a youngster, as a wicket keeper. I started wicket keeping because I was too short to be a bowler, really, and then realised that I could catch the ball okay. As I got older, I started to progress and started to really get involved in it, and got to an age of sort of 16 when I got offered a contract at Surrey. Now, obviously, that was one of those kind of awkward situations where you leave, one London county and go to another one. But I made the jump and learnt a lot from that dressing room through Alex Stewart and John Batty. And I was there for a couple of years until I came back to Middlesex. Spent most of my career at Middlesex, winning the 2020s in 2008, and did really, really well in the championship at times. And then I finished off my career at Worcester.
And you also had England Lions recognition as well?
Yep, that was towards the end of my time at Middlesex. I had a particularly good couple of years and we won the 2020. We went out to the West Indies to play in the Stanford series, which was fantastic. What an experience that was, obviously filled with some interesting times. And then I got recognised, got a phone call saying, we'd like you to go to New Zealand with the England Lions, which was obviously one of the highlights of my career. Around the time of the 2009 World Cup, where there was a chance that I was going to get a shout in that until Fozzie managed to get himself fit. James Foster, that is, managed to get himself fit and obviously got the nod ahead of me. But yeah, those were very interesting times.
And then post playing, you've gone into the fitness industry. You've got your own business as well. We'll put all the links in the description below. But yeah, do you want to talk us through that as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was a natural progression, really. I qualified as a personal trainer and nutritional coach whilst I was playing cricket because it interested me. I was always spending time with the physios. I was really interested in the anatomy of the body and how things worked. Cricket's a very technical sport, and I'm a big believer that the fitter you are and the better control you have of your body has an absolute direct correlation to how well you can hit the ball and how fast you can bowl and how well you can field. There's no doubt about that. If you have better posture, better control over your body, you can make better shapes. If you can make better shapes, you're more consistent. If you're more consistent, you're going to score more runs and take more wickets. So I was quite passionate about that, and I was very fortunate that when just before I finished at Worcester, I started to get involved with a few people back down in London, in particular City Athletic, Ben Claypole and Sean Stafford, and was given an opportunity to pretty much start my second half of my career there. And it's been brilliant. So I have a personal training business in the city. I have an online shadow academy that is ready at the moment, and people are jumping on board with that, which is really good for fat loss and strength and just general health. And then obviously Kinetic Cricket, which is a cricket-specific platform that allows cricketers to actually train in a manner that professional cricketers have trained in for years. So there's programs and there's concepts and there's mindset and nutrition based around getting yourself into the best condition you can be and giving yourself the best chance to play cricket at a top level.
It's a fantastic system. You do have all the links in the description below of this video. But for now, Ben, can't wait to get into this wicket-keeping masterclass. Let's go.
Okay, I'm just going to go through some technical wicket-keeping points here. The first one I want to talk about really is posture. Now, posture is really important across the board, where any kind of discipline within cricket, it really is important that our posture is in good alignment, but especially with wicket keeping. And the reason being is that we need to be able to see the ball, but also get into a good low position as well. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. So a lot of people think that wicket keepers actually get into a squat position when they're keeping. But actually what happens when we're squatting is the weight is going through our heels. Now that's not ideal, because obviously if we're leaning back, we're not particularly dynamic in moving forwards and moving from side to side. Okay, so I think that it's more of a deadlift position. Okay, so we are more upright, we're trying to keep our chest up. So you can see here, that's more of a kind of deadlift position as it is a squat, all right? The reason for this is that we need to make sure that our hamstrings are really nice and strong and nice and stable as we get into this low position with our chest up so that we can look forwards. The reason I use the terminology of posture is because it is important that our shoulders are back. Now, we all understand what posture, or hopefully we all understand what posture is with regards to getting our shoulders back and just the position that our body is in. So as you can see, if my shoulders roll forwards as I go down here, my head starts to look down. If I get my shoulders back and my chest up, I can look forwards whilst I'm keeping. Okay, so that'd be the first thing. Now, with regards to the depth, we are looking to get nice and low to the ground. We want our hands on the ground the whole time. A lot of the keepers that I work with, I try and get them to actually get into a position where they can touch the ground with their whole hand. All right, obviously we don't do that when we're keeping, but we want to be in this position. All right, now as you can see, that's more of a bent over position there as it is sitting back into a squat. Another important element of wicket keeping that often gets discussed is coming up with the ball. Now that makes it even more important, just going back to the posture side of it, that we are able to see the ball and get into a nice low position. Personally, what I used to do was get down into a nice deep position here. As I said before, my chest is up. Now coming up with the ball is basically trying to figure out, obviously early, pick the line and pick where the ball's about to bounce. Now what I used to do was I used to drag my hands backwards as I was doing that. One of the things I see a lot of keepers do at the moment is they try and meet the ball, but I think it's quite important to actually be reactive to the ball as opposed to trying to go towards it. All right, so what I would do is I would see the ball bounce, and then from there I would pick the line and I would look to drag my hands up. It's really important that the hands are nice and low, starting from the floor. If your hands only need to go in one direction, that is much, much better. If your hands are in the middle here, okay, and you're not really picking where the ball's bouncing, then we either need to go up or down. Take some complexity out of it, keep your hands on the floor, so you've only got one way to go. So you see I'm dragging my hands here, and I'm looking to pick where the ball's bouncing, and then I'm dragging and I'm coming up with the ball there. Another important element is obviously the catching area, so how big and how wide you get your hands to catch the ball. Now this is something that gets taught to kids throughout their progression, but it doesn't stop there. I mean, even when I was playing professional cricket, it was really important that I had my hands as wide as possible. I mean, it makes sense really, doesn't it? The bigger the catching area, the easier it is you're going to find to A, get in line with the ball and give yourself that target, and it just means that you're going to get hit on the fingers slightly less. So what I used to do was, I did used to cross my little fingers here. You don't necessarily have to, but I do feel that it gives you a little bit more stability when the ball goes in. And I would just force those thumbs out, get my elbows tucked in, and I'd be nice and wide here. Okay, as I said in one of the other videos, it was important to be nice and low with my hands open the whole time. You don't have to have them open from the word go. I mean, I see a lot of keepers that actually start like this. I used to relax a little bit more and I'd kind of have my hands closed or whatever I wanted. But as soon as the ball started to come down, bang, I'd get them open as wide as I can and I'd try and use that as a target to track the ball. Right, now that we've got that large catching area, what I want to talk about now is at what depth do we catch the ball. So if I stand side on from here, now we see this a lot in Australia and South Africa and other parts of the world where you see keepers that try and catch the ball out in front of them. Okay, now I'm not going to completely dispel that as a technique. It's obviously valid. But you see a lot of wicket keepers in the UK in particular look to catch the ball a little bit deeper, okay? Because we get a little bit of wobble, the ball dies on us a little bit, so it's quite difficult to get forwards. So I used to catch the ball nice and deep, literally as late as I could, almost behind my head, catching the ball in here. All right, if the ball was to the side, instead of looking to catch it from there, as you can see from this side profile, I'd be looking to get myself into a shape where I was catching it back here. Give yourself as much time as you can to see the ball and react to the ball by getting into these deeper positions, catching the ball nice and late. Okay, quite simply, the head is the heaviest part of the body, all right? So where the head goes, the body goes. So it's quite important when we're tracking the line of the ball as a wicket keeper that our head and our hands and our shoulders start to line up. Okay, so what we don't want to be doing is leaning away from it too much, okay? Sometimes we may need to do that if the ball bounces on us, we need to get our head out the way, but generally speaking, if we've got time and we're trying to pick the ball up early, we're looking to go with the torso and with the head and get in line here, okay? So if we don't have time and we just need to react, we go with the head, we catch there. If we've got a little bit more time, the batsman's left it, then we might be able to shuffle here and give ourselves that little bit of space to move sideways. All right, but fundamentally, as I said, the head is the heaviest part of the body, and where it goes, the body follows. A lot of cricket movements are micro movements. All right, they're not big, gross movements. Obviously, there are stages where we need to dive and we need to make these big movements. But if we are, the better we get and the better our technique is, actually, they're smaller movements. So once we get into shape, where our hands are here, you'll see that it might just be a case of moving ever so slightly and catching the ball just a little bit here, a little bit. Certainly standing up. If you're standing up to a seamer, bang, it's just there, bang. It could be a nice, small, quick, concise movement. So with that, it's important that we are strong isometrically, okay? So I don't want to bamboozle you with too many words, but isometric strength basically means that you can hold a position for a long period of time without wobbling, without losing that technique. As you can see, I can hold myself in this position and I could stay there all day. I used to have to stay there all day, all right? And then from here, it could be just as simple as micro movements there and to there. I'm just being nice and strong, nice and deep, and using those muscles to hold me in place for a longish period of time.